What's up? What's up? What's up? I was trying not to. My bad. I didn't realize you were in mid shoe. Ah. Oh, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Teacher Project. We are here. We are back. Listen, my apologies. We had set a time for 5:30, and then life happened, traffic and things like that. Really, Socrates? Really? Really?
It's her. Don't blame
Oh
me.
Lord. Whatever. Shout out to the people in the room. Appreciate you guys being
Hey, God,
here.
you know you right.
Don't listen. Neither one of y'all don't do me. Don't do me. How you doing today, Doctor? You.
I am well. Well,
That's it. That's all you got. You are well. Okay. Well, I'm glad you are well. I'm glad you are well. You know what? Listen for real. Everybody coming for me though. Listen. I don't need this kind of abuse. All right.
mm-hmm. Y'all know what it means. Because I was telling y'all. I'm just saying.
With friends like these. Anyway, what's going on, you guys? So listen, we're back and we have some things to talk about. As you can see in the title is critical race theory again. And yes, here we are again. We are back to as always, the descriptions to the articles we will be discussing in today's show are in the description box. So if you guys want to follow along, you want to follow up behind us and all that good stuff, go for it. But we've already had multiple conversations about critical race theory, what it is, what it isn't, how it's being used as a pawn, why it's being used as a pawn, so forth and so on. To give credit where credit is due, Dr. L. Teddy warned us of this long before it became a staple. And if you follow his politics of it all, he sounded the alarm long before it was sound bites on Fox News and
Mm-hmm.
CNN. Well, actually, no, it was already sound bites on Fox News. CNN had to catch up. But anyway, um, so yeah,
But our people have been on it. They know, even not just on my channel, but here, we've been sounding the alarm for
oh
over a
yeah,
year now.
even here, we've been
For over
talking
a
about
year
critical race
now.
theory since
So,
before. Yeah. So what I'm not gonna do, we are not getting ready to sit here and go back down that rabbit hole. But you can definitely go catch up on our old shows and hear all about it. But we are not going to go down that rabbit hole. But today we are going to talk about and if you are new here, because we've picked up a few subscribers in the last week or two. So if you are new here, if you're catching this on the replay, you will notice that we speak of certain states more than others. I think number one would be Florida, number two would be Texas, and I think North Carolina and Virginia are probably running neck and neck for number three, maybe.
I call it the Holy Trinity
Right.
in Florida
So
and North Carolina.
right. So of course, we have a story today from Florida. We have a story from Virginia. Or is it no? Is that Virginia or Maryland? No, Virginia.
Virginia.
So yeah, Virginia. So let's start with let's start with Florida. Let's start with
I just left talking about Florida,
yeah. Let's start with your state,
my great state.
your great state of Florida. This
Mm-hmm.
is Ron DeSantis. Anyway, let's go for it. This is coming from Politico. This article is dated December the 16th, 2001. And actually, the update to this is that this bill actually passed. So this article is talking about DeSantis is pushing a particular bill, but the update to this article is that this bill actually passed this week. So DeSantis pushes bill that allows parents to sue schools over critical race theory. What I read today, and El Teddy, you correct me if I'm wrong. What I read, I think it was yesterday, it came out that DeSantis signed a bill into law about um, anything making people feel uncomfortable about speaking on race. Which again, my question is, what does the word uncomfortable mean? Like that's a very broad term. But anyway, there is an update to this, but we're gonna go with this. We're gonna go here. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Wednesday escalated his ongoing crusade against wokeness in in quotation marks and elites by pushing a bill that would allow parents to sue school districts if they teach critical race theory in classrooms. Now, again, I hate to say this, I just have to keep interjecting. Critical race theory is not taught in elementary, middle, or high school. It isn't. It is a farce. It is a fallacy. The state's Republican governor, who gained a national following amid his battles over COVID restrictions, also wants the GOP controlled legislature to help employees at private corporations that are subject to what he called harassment by being forced to undergo sensitivity and racial awareness training. DeSantis announced the moves under a new Stop Woke Act, and woke is in capital letters WOKE. The event functioned more as a de facto, I'm sorry, my bad, I jumped ahead. At a press conference held near the villages of Bulwark, did I pronounce that correct, El Tani? Bulwark? B-U-L-W?
Yes, a
Okay.
board. Yes.
Of Republican support in Central Florida. The event functioned more as a de facto campaign rally as a crowd of onlookers applauded loudly and waved signs handed out to them ahead of time as DeSantis pushed liberal cities and states and companies like Bank of America and Verizon over their policies. Nobody wants this crap, DeSantis told the crowd. That's a very governor thing to say. This is an elite-driven phenomenon being driven by bureaucrats, elites in universities, and elites in corporate America. And they are trying to shove it down the throats of American people. You're not doing that in the state of Florida, he said. A key piece of the DeSantis proposal would give parents the power to sue school districts that teach lessons rooted in CRT. This part, which allows parents to collect attorney's fees, is similar to the bounty list permitted under the Texas controversial abortion law. The governor proposed measure is the latest move to appeal to conservative ahead of his 2022 re-election and possible 2024 White House bid, which I absolutely believe he is planning to do. Critical race theory is an analytical framework originally developed by legal scholars examining how race and racism have become ingrained in American law and institutions since slavery. Many conservatives began using critical race theory as shorthand for a broader critique of how race and social issues are being taught in K-12 education system. Most public school officials across the country say they do not teach critical race theory, even in districts where lawmakers are seeking to ban it. Absolutely. So, this last quote is by DeSantis. By us protecting against CRT in this Stop Woke Act, we're going to be making sure that time in school is being spent learning and not just being targets of indoctrination. You have the floor, Doctor.
I want to read this other quote by him, which says, "How is it not a hostile work environment to be attacking people based on their race or telling them that they are privileged or that they're part of oppressive systems when all they're doing is showing up to work and trying to earn a living?" Because this same law is also targeting what he called, quote, corporate sanctioned racism. And that's when we have diversity trainings and professional developments in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we are looking at that as well. Now, this is the same man who, and we just talked about this a couple minutes ago, who in November of 2020 said Florida got it right and everybody should be looking at Florida because Florida did the right thing when Trump won the state of Florida. And then a couple months later, did these sweeping voting rights laws because apparently something was wrong. that you needed to fix right after you said that Florida got it right. And in the same vein, there's no critical race theory being taught in K through 12 education. However, you are enacting sweeping laws that is banning things, and listen to the language, that are not CRT but quote rooted in CRT, which gives it a wide net when you start to talk about education and different subject matter that you could be teaching on. Basically, this is the encapsulation of white privilege and white supremacy. Because in the great state of Florida, what we will not have you people doing, we will not have you people doing anything that makes us lose any parts of our white supremacy and our white privilege. That's what you won't be doing in the great state of Florida. And what you won't be doing is indoctrinating our children by making them think that they don't have this mantle of white privilege and breastplate of white supremacy.
Oh, not the breastplate.
You're not going to have our children thinking that they're not, because he's using these words like elites. This is the elites and the bureaucrats. Hey, pot, meat kettle. Because last time I checked, all of these people that have so much to say about this alleged critical race theory are these elites and bureaucrats who are mad that they're being called elites and bureaucrats. I'm not. Listen, listen. Y'all know we like to tell y'all this, and this goes out to those of you all in the profession. There's a problem. There is a real problem, and I don't think enough is being said about this. The underlying issue is they don't want real education. What they want is indoctrination, indoctrinization. Probably said that wrong. That's what they want. They want no parts of true education. They only want children indoctrinated with what they want to be taught. Let's just be very clear. And if
Right, because
you
that's the part that cracks me up about the whole we don't want our children indoctrinated. And I'm like, but you do. You just want them indoctrinated, like you said, with what you want them to be. Because
but
let's be clear, you absolutely want them indoctrinated.
but the scary part really be that I was about to say is the fact that this is changing education as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And we come from a time when pedagogy and real education was the word of the day.
Yeah.
This is changing the profession. And if you think that things like this is going to help with the teacher shortage going on all over the country, you're reaching. This is going to have more people pulling out. You're talking about now, you're not going to just have the young ones leaving because that's normal, but now you're going to have early retirements, more mid-career changes and stuff like that. Much more of that.
Because
Because
let's be clear. Well, let's be clear. I teach social studies. You, when you were in traditional K through 12 education, you taught English. So, I mean, and it's not to take away science and math, but your subject and my subject, more than math and science, would be subject to this, let's say, for lack of a better word, being this law, because I teach history. There's racism all up and through that. Whether you're teaching world history, U.S. history, whether you're teaching government, there's no way I can't teach about racism if you want me to really teach history. I just can't. Everybody done had that. And let's be clear, especially if you're teaching world history, everybody done had a turn. So, and then when you're teaching literature, and there are novels where there's classism and racism and sexism, like that's those are some of the great themes of literature. If I'm misspeaking, we can even go back to Shakespeare.
When we talk about the book list, this is an attack on education. This is a concerted attack on education as we know it. This is changing the face of what we know to be education. Because right now, you're about to have a whole grocery list of publishing companies that are saying, oh, that's what we're doing. So let's reprint and reproduce all of the textbooks. And when textbook
Mhm.
adoptions happen across the nation, you will start to see textbooks like you have in Texas that speak nothing of evolution, totally exclude evolution and have creationism in there. I'm just telling you what I know. You're going
Absolutely.
to start to have
And
that.
exactly. And Tracy, so shout out to the chat. Again, if you're listening to this on the playback or you're listening to this on our podcast, or any of the podcast platforms, you can join the YouTube channel and be a part of our live chat whenever we go live. But shout out to the chat. Tracy says, so what are you supposed to teach them then? Listen, I guess they want me to just bring my newspaper in every day and kick my feet up on the table and just be a damn expensive ass babysitter. Because listen, as a teacher, I am underpaid, but as a babysitter, I guess I'd be making the money. Okay.
I don't know about that because you go to a lot of daycares, they're making a whole lot more money than the public
Well, the
school
daycare
system.
is, but not
At
the
the
teachers.
parent.
The daycare,
Those
but not the teachers.
babysitters, the daycares, baby, they make
Yeah.
a lot of money. Please
Well,
be
the
clear.
daycares are, but not the teachers. But anyway, Kelly says white people are obsessed with not wanting others to know the truth. I thought the whole point of learning about history is to not repeat it again. Facts.
But
But the
listen,
problem is they don't want to accept the history. They don't want, see, the thing is, in order for you to not want to repeat it again, you have to accept, and you have to accept the fact that it happened the first time. They're at a point now where they don't want to even acknowledge that it happened the first time. That's part of the damn problem.
well, we also said on
Hey,
the platform many, many times, go check out our old, our old shows that as Black people, we need to be very, very real in understanding exactly what they did with our
thank you,
indigenous
Diamond.
population and with our Native Americans is what they plan to do with Black history. Because we don't get a real and true history of what happened with Native Americans when the white people came over here and took over this country. There is a complete retelling of the entirety of that story. None of it is really accurate. And the exact same thing is about to happen with Black history. There's going to be a complete rewriting of everything that this country did to Black people in this country. I'm telling you now, that's what's about to happen. They're about to rewrite all of the textbooks. They're going to be telling stories about how we came over here because we wanted a new life and we came over here to help build this great nation because we saw that this was a wonderful undertaking, and that is why we came over here so willingly. And we willingly wanted to help put money in the coffers of this great nation by willingly working in the South, in the textile industry. And so, that's how it's going to be written. Like
Right.
everything was
We
voluntary.
willingly came over. We wanted a fresh start.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like what is happening? Like the story, like you think y'all think that listen, Mama was before her time when she says strange fruit, because they ain't gonna talk about people hanging from the trees. It's gonna be, oh, there were these very strange fruit hanging from the trees. You know what I'm saying? This is how it's gonna happen. This is what's about to happen.
Listen.
And it sounds hyperbolic and far-fetched, but that is essentially what they're saying. They are carving out whole chunks of American history and said, no, you can't do that.
Right. And you know what? Your point is valid because there really needs to be a whole separate indigenous people class. Like because like you said, the history is so watered down and convoluted at this point. You're absolutely correct. But we're getting to a point where not just Black history is going to be watered down, American history. Because let's be clear, they're attacking the Black history now, but what we're going to do about the Chinese Immigration Act when the Chinese immigrants were coming over and helping to build the railroad. We're going to erase that too. What are we going to do when we start talking about when during the Irish famine, they didn't want the Irish coming over and they wouldn't hire them, and they had like, let's be clear, like I said, when I say everybody's had their turn, I ain't saying everybody had it as bad as us, but everybody's had their turn when we start talking about American history and who the white people didn't like. It was
But the
just
problem is, but the problem is, all of these other people, you know what they do? When they turn and do this, that ain't my problem. I'll let y'all deal with that. Not knowing there, and we're guilty of it as well. We're guilty of it as well at times, which is why, because many of us, I'll be very honest, it wasn't until I got, I think, in eighth grade that I really had a teacher that started to teach me about Native Americans. I didn't know a lot that was going on. So I clearly had the understanding of, oh, well, that ain't. And so we, even as a community of Black people, said, well, that's their fight to have about their history. And now it's happening to us. And other, like you said, there are other members of American society that fall into the same category. We don't see them over here trying to side with us and windmill with us. They sitting over there like, well, I'll let y'all figure that out, not knowing that they may be the next one on the chopping block.
Well, I always go back to that old I don't know if it was a poem. I really, pardon my ignorance, but it's about the Holocaust, where the guy talks about, when they came for, you know, when they came for the blind, I said it wasn't me. When they came for, the gay people, I said it wasn't me. When they came for the Jews, I said it wasn't me, until they knocked at the door and they came for me. And I was looking around who was going to fight for me. You know what I mean? And it's kind of that same thing. Like, right now, it's Black people. Oh, it's just y'all's problem. It's Black people. Because I think everybody feels like their group will be able to fight and withstand it until it's their group being attacked and it's time to fight. Because yes, there are some groups that have very strong, we've talked about it before, and I ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole, but there are some other minority groups that definitely have some very strong wherewithal to fight these types of things. But at the end of the day, when the Republican Party turns their fangs on you, baby.
And as a group, as what baffles the mind is other minorities not joining in on the fight. Because let's be clear, we've been hearing for years that the American populace is going to change, and it's going to change. The white people will no longer be the majority, and this, that, and the third. And if you remember years ago, they talked about that happening like this decade. Remember that, really, be? And last time I checked, when you go check the statistics from the 2020 election, 70+% of the populace that of the voting populace was white. What are we talking about? You see what I'm saying? But everybody wants to be in their corners and nobody wants to come together and fight. And here we are. Here we are.
Y'all,
Houston, we have a problem.
all I'm gonna say is, again, we've been ringing this alarm for 2 years now. What we're talking about, you've got to watch what's going on around you. I cannot stress enough how important it is to pay attention to what is going on around you. Go to your school board meetings. Now it's easier than ever. All you got to do is log into a Zoom. You ain't even got to go nowhere.
I want to
Log
say
in.
one thing too, really, be the one part we didn't touch on the big one part of the article because of this because we were focusing on the schools, but because a lot of people say, well, I don't have no kids, my kids ain't in school, dot 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 dot. This law also affects the workplace. It's not just schools, it's also in the workplace. So we're talking about diversity training and stuff like that. We're talking about when your person in the cubicle next to you says some insidious thing about your hair or what you're eating or what you have on, or sends some email that is very, very inappropriate, you can't say anything to them. And what'll happen? And so then it becomes real world, because then you're gonna feel like I need to go to somebody at HR gonna tell you it's nothing I could do for you. And then if you go do anything in
well,
go
okay.
ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
And
cut
then
you
if
off.
you try to have any retribution to that or react to that, and that reaction may not be as positive as they would like it to be, now you getting fired and now you getting pink slipped. These are things that are going on in states, and when it happens in one state, It becomes the blueprint, and now you have other people following suit.
Now, see, okay, so what I was going to say was that's not how I interpreted that. I interpreted that as they can't mandate sensitivity training. It doesn't mean that that's carte blanche to be a racist. Like if somebody still says something racist to you, to me that works against the company, because if there's sensitivity training, then you know, regardless of whether you think it's racially insensitive or not, you've been taught and you've been warned. But now if you say it and you've been, out of the box, to me, that's how I interpreted it. I didn't interpret it as
No, no,
people just
oh,
get to say what
really?
they want to say.
There are cases right now in Florida where someone's being called out as being racist, and that whole thing has been flipped on its end. And now the person making the racist remarks are saying that they're being called oppressors, and they're being called all of these, gaslighting names that the other side is throwing out there. And now it's being made like the person who's saying that this person is being racist to me is the bad person, and the person making the racist remark is the good person. There are cases that are going on, and so that this is intended to help protect some of those people who are being called out for some of the things that they are saying, and it absolutely is.
Okay, I mean, I hear you, but that's not. I hear you. That's not how I interpreted it. But I hear
But
you.
and I'll send
I
you
hear
a
you.
couple articles on it, because that's there. There's a long line of, hey, this happened, we need this, and there are a couple bills that happened in leading up to this. There were a couple lawsuits and some bills that happened leading up to this. That's why um, That's why he introduced the workplace into it, because there were companies that were coming into the state that he wanted no parts of what they had going on in this. But yeah, that's a
Right, I
politics
got
of it.
you. No, I hear you. I'm not, like I said. I hear you. But I'm, like I was saying, it wasn't my interpretation, but that don't mean it was wrong. I mean, that doesn't mean it was right. Just because it wasn't my interpretation doesn't mean it was right. All right, so let's get to the next article, you guys. So, this article is coming from the Springfield News Leader. This was published January the 16th. The title is "A Missouri Lawmaker Wants Process to Recall School Board Members to Allow Willful Neglect Lawsuits." So let me read a little bit of this to you guys and then we'll discuss it. A Missouri lawmaker is proposing a bill that would allow members of school boards to be recalled by voters. Legislation sponsored by Republican Chuck Basie, Rockport Republican, would also open districts to litigation from parents and taxpayers relating to the willful neglect or refusal of a public official to perform certain duties. A similar bill, also sponsored by Basie, I don't know, I hope I'm saying his name
I
right.
think it's basic.
Right, Basie, right? The way I'm saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. Okay. Passed out of a House committee last session, but did not come up for floor debate. He presented this year's version, House Bill 1747, to the House Education Committee Tuesday. There's examples that I think most of us are aware of where we passed legislation and school districts are just ignoring the law. Basie claimed, pointing to the state's course access program as the most recent example. Under the bill, a school board member can be put on the ballot for recall if a petition is signed by 10% of the amount of voters who cast a ballot in the most recent election for that district. In April 2021, board elections for Springfield Public Schools, the largest district in the state, the highest voter getter earned 9,374 votes. So they only need 10% of 9,000 to be able to recall somebody. That's not a lot. That's not a lot at all. Wow. The 10% mark is lower than last year's version of the bill, which set the threshold at 25%. Basie said the change was because where I've heard the most complaints from mainly parents has been in the larger districts, where he said that 25% mark would be very difficult to achieve. Well, then my thing is, then the parents ain't that mad. That's how I look at it. The bill lists a number of reasons that can be used as grounds for recall of a school board member, including conduct that relates to and adversely affects the rights and interests of the public, breach of public trust, and lack of responsiveness to concerns raised by the public or staff. Any lawsuits against the district under the bill due to willful neglect by officials will potentially put those districts on on the hook for damages and legal fees. The school board association opposes the Missouri School Board Association opposes the bill. Outreach director Sean Rose told lawmakers, citing the fact that the board members are up for re-election every year on a rolling schedule. Well, if they're up for re-election every year, why do we need to recall somebody in the middle of the year?
Oh, we know what this is about. You really want to go down this road? This is about when the governor and the legislation says we don't want y'all to have masks, and the schools board says no, our district is gonna have masks. They can say, "Oh, you think so? All right, we're getting you out of here."
All right. Basie has been among the most vocal critics of public education in recent months within the legislature. He has accused Columbia Public Schools of using an inappropriate curriculum and called on the district superintendent to resign. Y'all see where we're going with this, people?
Mm.
The district says it does not teach elements of critical race theory, about which Basie requested district documents. A state survey last year determined that only one Missouri district, Kansas City Public Schools, uses elements of the academic framework in its curriculum. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. Basie, anyway, it just goes on to say that he's not alone, that other people support him. You guys, look, this is ridiculous. If there's already if these school board members are already up for re-election every year, the effort and energy it takes to do a recall, oh my gosh, like you spend the whole year trying to recall somebody that's up for re-election anyway. But
Apparently
the
not.
problem is, no, but I'm gonna tell you what it is, and it's the number, because to get somebody elected, I mean, defeated in an election, that means you have to find a candidate, vet a candidate, let them go through the whole rigmarole process, and then they have to get more votes. So that means they have to get, according to the last election, they got to get at least 10,000 votes, versus a recall where you only have to get 10% of the 9,000 to recall them. Because it's a lot easier to retain a seat than to get somebody to run against them and overthrow, what I'm saying, overthrow, but vote them out. You know what that is. So yeah, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
I'm guaranteeing you, they probably, if they haven't already, put situations in place that make it easier for them to shove somebody in that seat real quick. They stack the deck. And so the thing about it is, this hits on things like critical race theory. This hits on things like mask mandates. This hits on, I don't like that this teacher taught this subject in that class, and the school board allowed it to happen, and they ain't said nothing to them. And that now they'll see that as willful neglect. And now you're not gonna do what we told you to do. All right, get out of there. Because I'm gonna tell you what they're gonna do. They're gonna already have somebody in place. They're gonna have the paperwork locked and loaded, and all of the I's dotted and T's crossed. And as soon as they have something that they don't want, boom, they got the whole corporate machine behind them pushing these people, getting their names out there, and stuff like that. Like it's crazy. And so this is the other way around what's going on in Florida. Florida, they just passing a law. Get over yourselves. Over here, they say, we ain't gonna quite pass the law, but what we will do is we'll be able to put you out of your positions and put people in positions that are going to do it. And then and I'm telling you what's going to happen. Anytime somebody wins a seat there that they don't like, and something's happening that they don't want, because then where do you draw the line? Is the whole board going to be up for re-election, or just this one person? Like, because I know where I'm from, the boards have districts. There's districts for each board member. When they run, they have a certain district in part of the county. But I know some places they don't necessarily have that. And I'm not sure what it is over in Missouri. Maybe we need to look into that, but I'm not sure whether or not it's like that. Like, do they have a district? Or and then if they do have a district, how do you hold this one person accountable for what's being taught in a classroom? School board members aren't in a classroom. And whatever
Exactly.
is being taught in the classroom has to go for a vote by the whole board and be sanctioned by the whole board. So that means you got to be doing away with the whole board there. Like I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Confused.
But that's it. Like you said, what you just said is what it is. Like we the school board doesn't teach. That's not even their job. That's not even under their job description. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, what is I just feel like we are living through this dystopian novel that we weren't made privy to. Like, everything is being turned upside down. When you have institutions like education that's being attacked, and now you can't teach real teaching. What next? You're going to be able to tell me, no, you can't say 2 plus 2 is 4. No, it's closer to 5. On the right day, it's closer to 5, and on the wrong day, it's closer to 3. But you can't say it's 4 no more. I mean, is that next? Because we already know they don't believe in the sciences. They want no parts of the sciences at all.
Oh no, not at all. No, they don't. No, not at all. Mm-mm.
So what this is and then this is politics that has now permeated into areas that it shouldn't. You're talking education, you're talking healthcare. I'm sure, and all of the other places that you feel like I don't want y'all playing politics with my education. I don't want y'all playing politics with my health and my life. And that is exactly what's happening. And we have people that are making decisions and are putting things in place that absolutely does away with the credibility of these institutions. And it's a very scary thing right now. And not enough people are screaming about it. Just not enough people are screaming about it. And over there in your area, really be up the street from your neighborhood in the great capital of this country, the people in positions of power are doing nothing about it. Where are you, Miguel Cardona? Where are you at on all of these things going on? I don't hear
Where
you in
is he?
anything.
Like, cause he ain't doing nothing. Like, the man's doing. Where are you, sir?
I ain't heard you make a speech. I ain't seen you on TV.
It's just, y'all. Frustrating is not even the word to use. Anyway. Oh boy, boy, boy.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh Lord. You ready for the next article?
I just took something with sugar on it so that I
Oh
don't
Lord. Oh Lord. Oh
like
Lord.
I had to have a snack because I
Right.
might.
Him and Dr. Biden. Right. Where's Dr. Biden? Oh boy. All right. Prince William County, Virginia. School board member, school board head, seeks masking off ramp. Ask Youngkin for help. Now, I don't know if this is in the article, but let me just go ahead and say this. Here in the great state of Virginia, I'm going to have to take El Teddy's line. In the great state of Virginia, Governor Youngkin, who gave his inaugural speech earlier this week, he was just inaugurated. It was a tight race. It was a really nasty race here. You guys might remember, again, go back a couple of episodes. We talked about how nasty the governor's race was here in Virginia and how they used education, talking about Maya Angelou. No, I'm sorry, Beloved with Toni Morrison and a whole lot of stuff. So y'all go back and catch our old episodes. We be giving y'all the good stuff, okay? We be giving y'all the good
We
stuff.
be giving y'all the good stuff over here.
Okay. But he just stated that he is not going to force students here in Virginia to wear masks to school. Now, the individual counties, I think all of the counties except for Loudoun County have all said, no, y'all gonna keep the mask on. Now, Loudoun County, though, which really isn't that far from DC, it's like maybe about 40 minutes to an hour, give or take on a good day, depending on traffic. Matter of fact, for those Real Housewives of Potomac viewers, Loudoun County is where Great Falls is, um, which is where the Grand Dame was living for a season. Yeah, I remember they were talking about how far Karen lived. But anyway, Loudoun County is the only county, to my knowledge, and if there are any Virginia people, y'all can correct me. I believe it's the only county that is saying, okay, well, we're not going to make the kids wear masks to school. But I think the rest of the counties was like, yeah, we don't care what the governor said, y'all going to wear your mask. But the fact that the governor said it, you know, lets you know what we're dealing with. Amid the flurry of activity after new Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's executive order allowing parents to have their children opt out. Oh, damn! I should have read the article. Anyway, opt out of shut up, El Teddy, of a school system's mask mandate. Prince William County Board Chairman Barbara Lateef is calling for state and local public health and education leaders to work together to develop metrics for a safe, scientifically based masking off ramp. Lateef is seeking a measured, public health based compromise with the eventual goal of reducing and ultimately eliminating masking. My highest priority, although not everyone is happy with me, is to keep kids in school, even with a mask. But I would like us to find an exit strategy or what we call an off ramp. I'm hopeful the governor's new medical advisory team will be able to provide a roadmap toward getting rid of masks. Although Youngkin's executive order takes effect Monday, January the 25th, Lateef said he believes tweaking COVID-19 mitigation strategies will take some time, thought, and collaborations. We can't just decide we're going to lift the mask order, said Lateef. We need metrics to help us reduce masking. Lateef and State Senator Chap, that should let you know right there, his name is Chap, Peterson, a Democrat from Fairfax County, wrote an op-ed in the Richmond Times Dispatch calling for the state government to find those metrics and start outlining them for school divisions as guidance for how we should get rid of masking. As an example, Lateef points towards Massachusetts, where public health and school leaders looked for other mitigation strategies with the goal of freeing students from the discomfort, educational, and social constraints of masking. What? I'm sorry, I'm almost done. If 80% of the people in the building there were vaccinated, teachers and students, they went masking optional, so they had a roadmap there for everyone to aim for, said Lateef. I think if we all work together, we can find some of those roadmaps as well that we all can agree on, that all sides can sit down and say, I can live with that. Like any contentious issue in American politics, this is going to end up in a courtroom, said Stephen Farnsworth, a political science professor at the University of Mary Washington. Lateef, an eye surgeon who was elected to serve as the board chairman in November, is supportive of Superintendent Latanya McDay's announcement on Monday that the school division will continue masking while reviewing Youngkin's order and anticipated guidance from Virginia's Department of Education. This is not the first time Lateef has been willing to consider strong steps in an attempt to approximate a return to a pre-pandemic normal for Prince William County students. I was criticized heavily for bringing special education students back in September 2020, long before the vaccine, and we did it successfully with the heroic efforts of our teachers. That experience guided us to say we're okay to bring our first and second graders in November, our third and fourth graders in January of 2022, far earlier than most school systems in Northern Virginia. Most challenges to Youngkin's executive order will focus on Virginia Senate Bill 1303, signed by former Governor Ralph Northam, which mandated in-person learning as part of the final compromise. School boards were required to follow Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidance to the maximum extent practicable in bringing students back for in-person learning. I'm going to jump down to the bottom, you guys. Um, the CDC has to look at how the rest of the country is doing, put those students together and say, we have districts that have been mask optional and we have not seen the spread. Latif shares the data. Let's work on the data together because we can reassure our public, look, folks, this is working everywhere. There's no reason why it won't work here. So let me say this. I think the biggest point of this article when he said they did it in Massachusetts, where 80% of the school was vaccinated, I think it's a big thing because in addition to Virginia being a anti-masking state, they're also anti-vax. So, and I'm not talking about everybody who lives in Virginia, y'all. I'm talking about as a whole, the mindset. And I'm not talking about the more metropolitan parts of Virginia, like Alexandria, that's close to DC. I'm talking about the more rural parts of Virginia. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So, sir. Prince William County being one of those counties. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. So these are the same people that don't want people to get vaccinated, but y'all want to get the schools to a point where it is quote unquote safe for them to be out of mask. And you're absolutely correct, Tracy. The kids are not overall, the kids aren't the ones complaining. I mean, is it uncomfortable? Sure. I mean, I get irritated. I got to keep my mask on all day at work. Absolutely. As soon as I am in a safe space, I absolutely take my mask off. As soon as my kids leave the room, I spray my room down and I sit behind. I have a partition on my desk. I get behind my partition and I take my mask off. El Teddy, you take it. I got to take care of something.
Here's where the problem is. The problem is while I'm applauding that superintendent, Latanya McDade, who said, listen, we're going to keep wearing our masks. The problem is all districts, all school districts are still under the governance of the State Department of Education. And I'm not sure how it is in Virginia. I know in a lot of states, the Secretary of Education is appointed by the governor. It ain't elected. Now, y'all let me know. Maybe Really B could tell me if I'm wrong. So, if that's the case where the governor is the one who decides who's going to be in charge of the Department of Education, please be clear. If the governor gives an executive order that says no masks, that means that the mandate from the DOE is going to be no goddamn masks in the school. And if and when a public school system in that state decides that they're going to go counter to what the State Department of Education is asking them to do, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be hell to pay. And this is why these things go back to elections have consequences. These things have consequences. And now you're going to be putting children once again in danger, having no concern for the safety and well-being, not only for the children, but for all of the adults that work in and around the school system. And here's the other part that scares me with, for example, the Omicron variant, that one had less hospitalizations, but in the same vein, the numbers are showing had just as many deaths. Two, we don't know what's coming behind it. Because every time we say, oh, we done got past this, oh, we're good, something comes behind it, and now it's way worse. And we don't know what's coming on the horizon that may be way worse. And so my point being that you got Youngkin over here playing politics once again with this mask thing. Please be clear. Attack on Black history, American history, and what they call CRT is next. If he hasn't already introduced it and wrote it into the framework of the education system in the great state of Virginia. It is about to happen. It's the masks. The mask was the first thing to go. I knew that was going to be, you know, the first thing to go. Please be clear. I'm sure he already. They said he passed like 11 or so executive orders on day one, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he passed an executive order speaking to CRT. These things are happening, and as much as the that um what's the guy's title, as much as that chairman of that school board and that superintendent would love to say, hey, we're gonna wear masks, please be understand, when you put out there we're still gonna be wearing masks, they're gonna put some things in writing as well and say, oh, you wear a mask, okay, see if you get this good money. That's what's going to happen. They're going to take money from that school. The school the school system will be sanctioned, because remember, all certifications come from your state Department of Education. All accreditation comes from your state Department of Education. And what that state DOE can say is, we told you not to wear masks. You still wearing them? Okay, we snatching this. We told you don't teach this in your schools. You still teaching it? Well, we're snatching this. Now y'all can go be private or charter if y'all want to, but it's certainly, if you all are a state public school, you are mandated to abide by whatever that state Department of Education puts out there, provided you and whatever loopholes you can find, in there. So that's what scares me. I know they want to say we're still going to wear masks. That might work for a little while. That's what I was saying, really, that might work for a little while. But somebody in the chat just informed me that I was right, that their DOE secretary is appointed in Virginia. And so that means that Youngkin going to put his person in there. Who's going to say, hey, y'all ain't wearing no masks. Get over it. And as much as they want to buck the system, there ain't a lot you can do when the DOE tell you you're not going to be wearing masks. And like I said, he signed like 11 executive orders. I think I'm not mistaken. One of them had to do with what he claims to be CRT as well. That's coming right down the pipeline as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's all coming. I mean, listen, Northam told us who he was when he ran, when he threw the
Youngkin,
whole um when he threw the whole beloved book and tried to make it, oh, and this woman son was so traumatized after reading beloved, but you're in a voluntary AP program, like nobody made you, and
and
the
he
AP
never even read the
curriculum is
book.
not the state of Virginia, it is the AP curriculum. It's college board, sir. That
And
has
he never
nothing
even
to do with
read
the
the book.
state of
And he
Virginia.
never even read the book.
Right. Hello. So all right, so this last story, this is dealing with the Navient lawsuit. I just want to give you guys an overview. You guys, they get you with these headlines, but you got to go a little bit behind it. They got us with this headline earlier in the week about how Navient settled this lawsuit, and they're going to pay out something like 1 point something billion dollars to for some people who had student loans. So let me give you guys a little information so you know if that applies to you and where you need to look to find out if it does apply to you and if you're going to get any relief. All right. So let me read you guys this. This is coming from uh, this is published January 14, 2022. It's coming from Quartz. Quartz. Okay. Navient student loan settlement primarily applies to delinquent borrowers. And again, Navient is formerly Sally Mae. So if you owe money to Sally Mae, it's Navient. Okay, just in case you didn't know that. For years, the student loan servicing Navient allegedly encouraged student loan borrowers to enter costly long-term forbearance programs that push them further into debt, as well as take on private loans that they couldn't pay back, according to lawsuits filed by several states and joined by 39 attorney generals. Those claims were resolved through a settlement announced yesterday, affecting some 400,000 borrowers. Navient said it will cancel 1.7 billion in private student loan debt for 66,000 borrowers, as well as pay an additional 95 million in restitution to 350,000 people with federal loans. The former deal mostly focuses on students who took out loans to attend for-profit colleges between 2002 and 2014. This is really a big deal for people with student loan debt, says Mike Pierce, executive director for the Student Borrower Protection Center. Borrowers that are still struggling more than a decade later with loans with the worst terms after going to the worst schools are finally debt free. So I'm not gonna read you this whole thing, but I'm just gonna give you guys the overview. So one, the lawsuit accused Navient of engaging in two types of predatory behavior. One, steering student loan borrowers into forbearance. I'm a victim because they did that to me. They will call me and say, "Oh, you're behind on your loan. Oh, you can't afford to pay it. Well, we can give you a forbearance for 6 months." And of course, in the beginning, I was like, "Okay, go on and give me a forbearance for 6 months." And then I realized what was going on in the interest and all that good stuff. Two, encouraging students to take out loans they couldn't repay. Um, ultimately, hold on. Yesterday's settlement brought together attorney generals from both sides of the political spectrum on a typically diverse issue. Pierce hopes that the deal will pave the way for Department of Education to provide relief to more federal loan borrowers who accrued debt due to Navient's alleged predatory practices, as well as other services who engaged in similar behavior. The federal government only cut ties with Navient in September. The government should acknowledge that their contractors have cheated people out of income driven repayment for decades. So let me say this. I'll speak for myself. My biggest problem with my student loans is that what they just said, they never allowed people like me to get into a income-based repayment program. They had me paying back way more than I could afford to pay per month. And when I couldn't afford to pay it, then they would offer me these forbearances and all these different programs rather than, and I'm saying this happened for years, you guys. Every time I got behind on my student loans, which was often, I would say to them, "Listen, I can't afford the payment. I will send you money every month, but you want me to send you more than I can afford to give." They wanted me to pay them. It was something like $600 or $700 a month. I can't afford that. I don't have an extra $600 or $700 laying around a month. Now I can send you $200, maybe $300 on a good month, but I don't have an extra $600 laying around on every month. And so that is the cycle that they would put people in. It really wasn't until recently, and I had to get behind. I mean, so far behind on my student loans that they were actually getting ready to put me in default. Now all of a sudden they've got all these programs to help me, and I'm like, well, where were all these programs when I was trying to pay and I told y'all I couldn't afford what you were asking me to pay? But the problem with somebody like me is I don't have any children. I don't have any dependents. So they would ask me like 4 questions. How much do you make? Are you married? Do you have any kids? And they would say, "Oh, well, we can't help you." This last time that I went through this situation, they asked me everything. They asked me how much my mortgage was. They asked me what my car note was. They even had me put down what I paid per month on my cable bill. Like, they literally took into consideration all of my bills. And then they came back with like, "Oh, well, can you pay $160 a month?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I can pay $160 a month." And that's my payment now. And it's like, why did I have to almost go into default and screw up my credit just for y'all to help me when I've been telling you for years I can't afford this? Because they kept putting me in these forbearances. And all that was doing was pushing the debt further and further back instead of helping me pay it off. But now you see that that was never the plan. It was never the plan for me to pay it off. So I don't know if I'm eligible or not, because for federal loans, this is really mainly geared towards people who have private loans, and for people who were at schools like ITT, Tech, and I think University of Phoenix was on there. So I'm gonna look into it. They said to contact your state attorney general and find out if your the type of loan you have was eligible. Because I mean, even if they take off a couple of $1,000, it's better than what I got now. I mean, I doubt I'm one of the people that's eligible for a full payoff, but I'll take a couple of it. I'll take a couple of it, okay? Sally Mae was gonna have you on the poll, girl. But yeah, I'm saying that to everybody. Yeah, please contact. If you have any student loan debt, please reach out. They said to contact your and I'm sure that there are like phone numbers. If you type it in Navient Lawsuit, I'm sure there are links. I'm sure there are phone numbers that you can find. But they said Volvo said they will let you know by June. But I know that one article I read said that you could reach out to your state attorney general to find out if your school or if the loan you had was eligible. But my thing is, I say call. The worst they can say is no. If you know you had a loan through Sally Mae, which is now Navient, the worst they can say is you ain't eligible. But I think for the federal loans, it's like $260 or something. I don't care. I'll take that $260. That's $260 I ain't got paid. But I think the private ones would definitely. Yeah, Navient took over Sally Mae. No, Sally Mae doesn't exist. But the reason why I said Sally Mae is because a lot of people may not know Navient is Sally Mae. Navient is Sally Mae. So if you had a loan with Sally Mae, it's Navient now. Oh, Teddy, anything you want to add to that?
I actually did this story on I think it was on Silly Saturday.
Yeah, Silly Saturday.
Um, and we talked about it, but it is geared toward the people who went to the Maury Povich Jerry Springer schools, as I like to call them, because they advertised during Maury Povich and Jerry Springer in the middle of the day.
I hate you so much.
But you know they lied.
So much.
They just need to call them what they are: Jerry Springer University, Maury Povich College. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all, we hate him. We hate him.
What?
We hate him so much.
But I mean, even when we were on it, I talked about the fact that I gave a novel idea of what they really should do with student loan debt. I feel like if someone went to school, got a loan, signed a promissory note, if they come out on the back end with the actual degree, relieve them of their student debt. They understood the assignment, because you work when you're in school. You literally be working for that money. Say nope, here you go. That's your loan paid off, your diploma, degree conferred on such and such. Now, if you ain't graduate,
well, I will say that, and that's the other thing that I'm going to look into as well, because they are, because I'm a teacher. Again, they tell you these things and it sounds good until you do the research. Where they say sitting on the sofa loans. I ain't doing that with y'all, but they tell you these things like, oh, well, if you work at a low income school, you could be eligible. And yeah, there are programs, but the criteria for that program is so hard and the bar is set so high that it's almost impossible. I ain't saying it's impossible, because there are people who have gotten their student loans relieved, but the bar and the criteria is so difficult, because of course they don't want anybody to be able to do it. This is how I feel about it, and I think you're right. I'm with you, El Teddy. If you're actually using your degree, especially in certain areas, I definitely feel like there should be a large deferment, forgiveness of your loan. Not deferment, but forgiveness of your loan. But I'm gonna take it a step further. Our student loans have been deferred for almost 3 years now, right? If you can afford to go almost 3 years without me having to pay my student loan, how about you don't need my money? Just cancel the shit. I mean, it's been almost 3 years.
The Progressive Caucus has been saying that screaming that for years now, but these people whose pockets are lined by these banks and loan companies won't let it happen. They could do student debt forgiveness with the stroke of a pen. They just don't want to. Um,
Exactly. Cali girl said they did
ma'am,
the same
ma'am,
thing to her.
ma'am, 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 ma'am.
What?
Are you
What?
looking there at that time?
Yes,
Oh,
I got it.
you taking our people over our time.
I got it. Calm down. I was gonna read Cali girl's last comment and then we were gonna wrap it up. Don't do me. Cali girl said the same thing, that they asked her two questions and told her they couldn't help her, saying that her gross pay did not qualify her, even though her gross pay is $2,000 less than her net pay. Listen, I'm with you. Been there, done that. Now, with that being said, I was getting ready to wrap it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all for being here. It is so appreciate. I so appreciate it. If you are new or you're catching this in the replay, go ahead and join us on our YouTube channel. If you are in the bushes and you're new here and you're not subscribed, go on and subscribe. Hit that like button. It's
Please
free 99.
subscribe.
It is free 99. I'm gonna let Dr. L Teddy say his piece and then we're gonna get out of here for you guys. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and click all when you're on notification bell. Please push us out on your social media. You know what I'm saying? On your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, on your TikToks and Snapchats and all of that stuff. Promote the channel. We're doing the work of the Lord over here. We're doing good work over here. And listen, I'm telling you, the things that we talk about here is on the cutting edge. We don't give y'all no old stale stuff. We give y'all stuff way ahead of time. Really, B and myself, we try to have a lot of foresight in what we give you all and what we present, so that way you can be, when you hear it in news media outlet, you can say, "Oh no, I already knew about that. They already told us." So yeah. Excuse me, Lauren. You don't know me all my life. You do not know
can,
me
can we place
all
all
my
of
life.
our videos into one playlist? Okay, I can work on that. Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you and I appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I've been actually working on some stuff on this channel. So we're working on getting some things going over here on this side of the traction.
I ain't been doing nothing because let the people tell it I don't do nothing. That's what
Who said that? That's not
somebody
true.
my DM just say, why you let really be do all the work on teacher project? I said, what?
Oh no, we have a system that works. Listen,
We got a
no,
system that work.
listen,
We
we
work
have a system that works. Don't rock this boat. Don't rock
right.
this boat.
We work. Trust
We
me.
have a system that works.
Both
I
of us
promise
work.
you. I promise you we do. But with that being said, y'all, we get ready to get out of here. Y'all know we try to keep y'all to an hour. We are 10 minutes over, almost 10 minutes over. But I appreciate y'all being here and we are out. Peace. Mwah. Gonna be rushing me. Don't be telling